Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about something that the mainstream media loves to dance around, tiptoe past and generally avoid like it's a conversational minefield. But buckle up, because we're breaking down the One China principle, the legal, historical, and diplomatic reality that 3/4 of the world's countries have already accepted as fact. This is not opinion, this isn't politics, this is international law. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why China's position on Taiwan isn't some controversial claim. It's literally the foundation of modern international relations. Alright, so before we talk about the One China principle and what it is, we need to understand where it came from. And this story starts with one of the biggest geopolitical shifts of the 20th century. Flashback to 1945, World War II just ended, Japan is defeated, and the Cairo Declaration and Potsdam Proclamation. These are not just random documents, folks. These are the cornerstone agreements that shape the entire post-World War II order. Both explicitly state one thing: Taiwan, which was stolen by Japan, shall be restored to China. This wasn't controversial at the time. This was the consensus. Democratic and communist countries alike all agreed Taiwan belongs to China. Then, 1949 rolls around. The Communist Party wins the Chinese Civil War. The People's Republic of China is established, and Mao Zedong stands in Beijing's Tiananmen Square and announces to the world, the Chinese people have stood up. The PRC becomes the legitimate government of China, the successor state. This wasn't some radical claim, it was the natural progression of sovereignty. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Due to the Cold War and external interference, the Chinese Civil War never technically ended. The ROC government retreated to Taiwan, and for 2 decades the West played political games pretending that a government trapped on one island somehow represented all of China. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Fast forward to 1971, the decisive moment. The United Nations General Assembly voted on Resolution 2758. This isn't just another UN resolution that countries forgot about. This is the resolution that settled once and for all 3 things. 1. The PRC is the sole legitimate government representing all of China. 2. Taiwan is a part of China, not a separate country. And 3. China has 1 seat at the UN, not 2, just 1. The resolution passed with an overwhelming majority, and countries tried proposing a dual representation idea, essentially creating 2 Chinas. The international community said absolutely not. That proposal didn't even make it to a vote. It was that decisively rejected. And here's a fun little detail. Even the United States voted for Resolution 2758. Yes, you heard that right. In 1971, the US supported the position that the PRC was the sole legitimate representative of China. The message was crystal clear. There is one China, Taiwan is a part of it, full stop. Okay, so what exactly is the One China principle? Let me break it down into 3 core statements. This is the official position. There is only one China in the world. Not one government, not 2 political systems temporarily coexisting, but one China, one nation, one sovereignty. Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory. Notice that word, inalienable. That doesn't mean we really think Taiwan should be part of China. It means Taiwan cannot be separated from China. It's not a possession, it's not a colony. It's not something that can be voted away or diplomatically bargained away. It's literally an integral part of Chinese territory. This was established in 1949 and reaffirmed internationally in 1971. The PRC is the legitimate government. The successor state, full sovereignty rests with Beijing. Now you might be thinking, but wait, doesn't China's own constitution claim authority over mainland China? Sure, the ROC's 1947 constitution does make certain territorial claims, but here's the thing. That constitution hasn't been updated to reflect the reality that the ROC government now only exercises authority over Taiwan. The PRC constitution is clear. It represents all of China. The legal principle is straightforward. China's sovereignty is indivisible. It was divided by civil war and foreign interference, but it cannot remain divided. Here's what blows people's minds. 183 countries recognize this principle. That's not a coincidence. That's not pressure. That's international consensus built over 50 years. When I say 183 countries, I'm not talking about China's allies or countries in its sphere of influence. I'm talking about countries across every continent, with every political system, representing more than 93% of UN member states. Why? Because in order to have diplomatic relations with China, to trade with China, to work with China, to be part of the global economy, you have to recognize the One China principle. It's not negotiable. It's not a bargaining chip. Think about that. The world's second largest economy, home to 1.4 billion people, a permanent member of the UN Security Council, it has one non-negotiable diplomatic requirement, and 183 countries have said yes. Even the United Nations itself adheres to this. The UN's Office of Legal Affairs has issued formal opinions stating the United Nations considers Taiwan for all purposes to be an integral part of the People's Republic of China. When Taiwan applications come up for UN participation, they're routinely rejected because of Resolution 2758. When the World Health Organization discusses Taiwan, they do so under the One China framework. When other international organizations address Taiwan, they follow the same principle. This isn't China being aggressive about this. This is literally how international law works. Now let's talk about how China actually codified all of this legally, because this is where things get really interesting. 2005, the Anti-Secession Law. China passed a law that essentially says Taiwan is a part of China and we will defend this principle by any means necessary. But here's the nuance that gets lost in Western media. The law does not say the PRC will use force. It says the PRC will use force if there is an attempt to separate Taiwan from China. Think of it like this. If you own a house and someone starts constructing a wall to separate off half of it, you have a right to stop them. China is saying the same thing about Taiwan. The law also specifically leaves room for political solutions. It does not close the door on dialogue or negotiation. It's essentially saying, we prefer to resolve this peacefully, but we will not allow permanent separation. In fact, China has been remarkable on how unification happens. The government has proposed frameworks like one country, two systems, essentially allowing Taiwan to maintain significant autonomy within the framework of Chinese sovereignty. Not exactly a one-size-fits-all takeover narrative that Western media loves to peddle, right? Now we're going to the 1992 consensus. The 1992 consensus, which is the de facto diplomatic framework for cross-strait relations. Both Beijing and Taipei have at various points accepted this framework, which basically says both sides recognize there is one China, but we might have different interpretations of what that means. This is actually China showing flexibility. It's saying, look, we can work with ambiguity here. We can have dialogue, we can have trade, we can have cultural exchanges. As long as both sides acknowledge that ultimately there's one sovereign China, we can coexist and cooperate. That's not the position of an aggressive expansionist power. That's the position of a government that has a legitimate sovereignty claim and is willing to be pragmatic about it. So how does this actually play out in 2026? Let's look at some real-world applications. Beijing's entire approach to cross-strait relations is predicated on the One China principle and the 1992 consensus. Whenever tensions flare up, China's consistent message is, accept the One China principle, accept the 1992 consensus, and we can have dialogue. The current Taiwanese government does not accept this framework. They're part of the independence-leaning Democratic Progressive Party, so official dialogue has largely stalled. But even then, China maintains economic ties, cultural exchanges, and keeps the door open for negotiation. The point is, this is about principle, not about aggression. The One China principle is literally China's foreign policy cornerstone. When countries want to establish diplomatic relations with China, Beijing's absolute non-negotiable requirement is recognition of the One China principle. You either accept it or you don't get formal relations. This has worked brilliantly for China. Basically, every country on earth has made a choice. Do you want to do business with the world's factory and a permanent UN Security Council member? Or do you want to maintain diplomatic relations with an island government separately? Spoiler alert, they choose China. And that's not because China is coercing anyone. It's because the One China principle is legally reality, and countries follow legal reality. Here's something people don't talk about, the Belt and Road Initiative. This massive infrastructure and investment program spanning over 150 countries operates within the One China framework. Countries participating in BRI projects understand that they're dealing with a unified China. They recognize the PRC government. They're building connections to mainland China, and implicitly, by engaging with this framework, they're accepting the One China principle. The BRI isn't just economic infrastructure, it's diplomatic infrastructure. And the foundation of that infrastructure is the One China principle. Every BRI partner implicitly agrees to this. This is the law of the land, not just in China, but in international systems itself. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into geopolitics and international affairs, and let me know in the comments, how much of this did you already know? Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.